Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the variables of healing, the factors that influence healing, if you like, and why you may not be able to help everyone with your healing. So, there are a few points that I picked up off Abraham Hicks many years ago. I wrote them down just for this. So, there is the intensity of the healing, the precision of the healing, the momentum of the desire for the healing. So that's the desire of the healer as well as the desire of the person being healed. And then the proximity of the belief or the expectation in relationship with the desire, again, of the healer and the person being healed. So there are infinite variables for these different points. So let's go through them one by one, shall we? So the first thing is the intensity. So when you start off as a healer, you may not have much energy flowing through you yet. And obviously with time, as you practice more and your belief changes on how much energy can come through you, and or energy blocks are cleared within you as you work on yourself, as you work on your own growth, your own vibration, it's much easier for energy to come through you. You have a stronger belief in your healing ability. And so the intensity of the healing will increase. And obviously that will make it more likely that you will be able to change others, so long as they receive it, of course. And then the next point is precision. So even if you have quite strong energy coming through you, you may not be sending it to the right place. So if they have a problem and their aura over their throat and you're putting it in through their feet, it may be very intense at their feet, but it may not be reaching their throat very easily because it's going through other things and clearing other things first. A very basic and crude example, but you get the point. So the more precise you are with how you send the energy, the more effective the healing is likely to be. Again, if the person is able to receive it. Okay, and then desire. So obviously, if you have a strong desire to heal, if you have strong compassion, then again, you're more likely to open up, more likely to allow things to come through you. If you don't have much of a desire to heal someone, maybe they are off-putting to you in some way or another. Maybe they have smelly feet. Who knows what it may be. Whatever judgment that may come up in you may cause resistance in you, and therefore the energy doesn't flow so well through you. You may well also be working on something, knowingly or not, that you also share. So maybe if you know that you also have the same problem as the person you are working on, or even if you don't know yet, maybe you're not aware yet that there's some issue within you, there's some trauma, some blockage of some sort within you. You may not be allowing that energy to flow through you as easily as it could do. Quite often, when you are working on people and energy is flowing through you, if you do have the same problem, then it may well bring that thing to the surface to be cleared. And you may feel pain in your physical body. You may feel an emotional release coming up. You may have lots of crazy thoughts coming up in your mind as well. You may notice some astral things happening. And of course, if you allow that to influence you, control you, then you may resist that, and you may therefore resist the energy flowing through you into the person you are treating. And so that can very much affect how well you are treating them. And then there comes down to belief again. So belief, expectations, all very interrelated. If you have a strong belief that you can heal, then obviously you're going to be better as a healer. You may well find that through experience, certain things, certain diseases, certain complications, certain things that people would like worked on, you may have more experience of, you may feel better with, and other things because you don't have much experience with, or maybe you found or had an experience where that person didn't really receive the healing very well. You may well start believing that you can heal certain things better than other things. And again, that can limit your ability to heal. So that's the healer's side of things. So that's something you can do something about. The bit that you can't necessarily do something about is from the person being healed, their perspective. So you will find when you do healing that you do learn to talk about things in different ways. You start to get better and better at explaining how healing works, what you are doing, whether or not something might come out or not. You get better at talking about it. You get better at engaging the person who's receiving your healing. You're engaging their ego better. And of course, if you can help their mind understand something and realizing that something is possible, then they're more likely to open up and receive the healing. And of course, there's the subconscious side of the person. And the subconscious is vastly bigger than the conscious part. So even though they believe a healing is possible, their subconscious might have the opposite belief because of experiences in this life, in other lives, their physical body's ancestry's lives. It may well be that there's a resistance there. And so that can be difficult for them to receive healing, even if they consciously believe and know that healing can work. Their subconscious can fight it. And of course, it can be the other way around. You might find that someone is quite skeptical in their conscious mind, not very believing of energy healing, but their subconscious has a lot of experience of receiving healing in this life or other lives or in their physical body's ancestry's lives. And so actually, despite what their conscious mind says, they're very responsive to healing. And of course, you can have situations where the conscious and the subconscious mostly agree or mostly disagree. So as you can see, there's a lot of different beliefs that might come up in the person you are working on as to how effective healing will be, whether they know it or not. And so they can resist healing consciously or subconsciously or not. So there's a lot of variables on what they consciously expect, what their subconscious is saying, and that can have a big impact on healing. So learning to help people open up, learning to help people be more curious about healing, giving examples of healing, maybe even showing them videos of other healers performing healing, maybe having them talk to people that you've successfully had healing, done healing on in the past, might help them to understand and be more open to it. A skeptic, someone who won't see a truth unless it's proven, may well be a difficult person to work with. You might find that actually it might be better to not work with that person if you feel that you can't get through to them in some way. So there's lots and lots of variables. You're not going to be able to help everyone. Sometimes as a healer, you're there to show people the path they don't want to take. Unfortunate as it may be, some people it's not their path to explore spirituality in that way, or at least not in the way you view things or talk about things. So it may well be that someone is very open to healing, but not necessarily the way I explain it or the way I do it. Maybe they don't like my personality, maybe they don't like the way I describe it, and therefore they may not be very receiving of my healing energy, but they might be able to go to another healer and it might make more sense the way they explain it, the way they do things, and so they might better receive from a different healer. So that's another thing to consider. It's always useful to have different people, different practitioners to refer to. Not necessarily another energy healer, but maybe if there's a physical issue, for example, and the energy healing may not be enough on its own, then maybe get to know some contact details of an osteopath or a chiropractor or a massage therapist or whatever else might be useful. So always useful to have people to refer to. And who knows, they may refer people back to you if they get to see how beneficial your healing has been with them. Another thing that's important to talk about when it comes to belief and expectation is the factor of things taking time in this reality. So I know if I think elephant in my mind, an elephant isn't suddenly going to appear in this room. In a higher density reality, yeah, I think elephant and an elephant will just boop, straight away. So this 3D world, as we tend to label it, is a reality where things take time to happen. And so very often it is the case that it will take more than one healing for things to change, because consciously and or subconsciously there's a strong belief in humanity that things take time to change. So at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who like the quick fix. Like it or not, there's plenty of them out there. So plenty of people out there, I'm sure, have experienced, things being fixed quite quickly with a drug, for example. Their symptoms very quickly change, even if the underlying cause didn't change. But that's a whole other subject. And so a lot of people like the quick fix. They don't like to work on things. They don't like things to take time to change. And of course, a lot of the issues you will find in the aura didn't happen overnight. They were things that gradually built up and built up as people kept repeating a thought, repeating a belief, strengthening that belief through experience, making that belief stronger. Eating the same sorts of foods over and over again to build up a certain vibration that way as well. So you get the idea. There's lots of different things that people do and in their life that are detrimental to them, that are very limiting to them. And it doesn't usually happen just in one instance. It usually is something that builds and builds and builds as people repeat the same thought, the same emotion, the same action over and over. And so quite often it can take time to go the other direction. And this is where the word momentum comes in. If you've got someone who wants you to work on their aura to help clear maybe a limiting belief from their aura, they may well have been thinking about that belief, acting on that belief, having an emotional response to that belief the same way over and over and over for many, many, many years. So there's a lot of momentum to it. There's a lot of momentum of going in this direction, and they come to you wanting you to clear that belief or the energy relating to that belief, or a parasite relating to that belief, all sorts of different possibilities in healing. So they want to go this way. But there's a lot of speed and momentum and force going in that direction, the direction they don't want to go in. And so it can take time to slow that down before it can change for the good. So quite often when you are doing healing, you may experience a lot of intense energy flowing through. You may experience removing a lot of blockages, lots and lots of different things. And you feel like you've done a really good job, but they don't feel the change yet. They don't feel like much has changed. And that's because the energy that you have changed isn't enough for them to notice. They're still going that direction, maybe not as fast, not with as much force, but they're still where they don't want to be. So you have to understand the effect of momentum. You have to understand as a healer that it can take time to really start clearing lots and lots of energies in order for someone to actually notice that something is changing and for them to be happy with it. Don't expect people to be happy with your healings after every session. So the more you can do to explain momentum, the more you can do to explain, hey, it took time for that particular energy block, that particular belief, whatever it may be, to manifest, and therefore it may take time to clear that, the more likely they are to come back to you, and therefore the more likely you are to be able to actually heal that issue, and the more likely you and them will be happy with the outcome. So again, learning ways of talking with people so that you can explain why things may not be a quick fix is very, very useful. You may well come across, like I have, people who come to you who have been to 7, 8, 9 different healers, and they said, oh, those 9 different healers didn't fix my problem. Can you fix my problem? And quite often when I tune into them, I can see, yeah, these other healers have actually done some things. They have actually removed things. They have actually made progress, but you just don't see it yet. You haven't had enough removed, enough vibrational change yet for you to actually see that they have done something positive for you. So, yes, expectation and belief can be quite an important thing to understand for yourself and to help others understand. So let's talk about why people expect a quick fix. I mentioned about drugs, so people may have had experiences with drugs in their lives where their symptoms suddenly changed and they felt a lot better. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of stories out there, a lot of news out there of people having sudden awakenings, sudden healings, going to some practitioner of some kind and suddenly their life changes. And these are the stories we tend to hear much more often. We don't tend to hear about so often the stories of people who worked on themselves over many weeks, many months, many years, and had a big change. We tend to hear all the glorified things, don't we? And by the way, they do happen. If you look on my testimonials on my website, there are people who've had huge shifts just in one session. It just changed their lives. There was one French guy I was working on. He was in a mental institution in France, and I gave him 1 bar session. And he said such a big shift happened that he felt like a different person. And I can't remember the time frame, but within 2 to 4 weeks afterwards, they let him out of the mental institution because they said that he had changed that much. It was no longer a problem anymore. So they do happen. They've happened quite a lot in my experience over the years, but it's not the norm. So quite often it's important to help people understand that yes, it can happen, be open to it for sure, relax enough and be open to the possibility of a sudden change in their life, but also understand that consciously and or subconsciously, there's usually quite a strong belief that things take time to change in this reality. And that it will take multiple sessions, maybe interactions with other practitioners of different kinds, maybe lots of advice that you give too, homework if you like, so that they can maintain the benefits of your healing and of course build on the benefits of your healing. So that's something I do a lot. That's why I talk a lot, especially in the first few sessions, so people can get to know me, get to understand why I do the techniques I do, how I'm doing them, what I'm doing at any particular point. They can get an idea of, how things might progress with the healing. And also why I give people homework. I give people exercises, different types of meditations, different methods of removing energies themselves so that they can better themselves. Because I know A lot of people, for a lot of people, it's not a quick fix. And I know in order to maintain the benefits, they have to make some lifestyle changes. Maybe it's a way in which they think. Maybe it's the way in which they emote or they act out of habit that they need to change to maintain the benefits that they don't revert. So that's the other key point here. A lot of people would like all the benefits and they would like it all in one session without them having to change their lifestyle, without having to change how they think, how they act, how they react to their emotions or act on them. And that's not the case. If you want to be a different person, you have to be a different person. And so that's one of the more important things that you may have to talk to them about to help them understand. Okay, I hope you've got the general gist of what I'm saying in this session. Please do write down in the comments or email me separately if you would like to understand a bit more or talk about this subject in more detail. In the next session, I will talk about some meditative techniques to help you understand and be able to do the next type of healing that I will teach. So I'll be going into a type of mindfulness, I guess you could say, or a type of Vipassana meditation to help you better sense your body so that we can start to go into different ways of healing. So most of the healing techniques we've talked about so far have been using the sense of touch. So you're using the sense of touch to feel the aura and to change things in the aura. So I'll be moving into a different style, pardon me, a different style of healing where you feel directly, not feeling with your hand, not necessarily with your sense of touch, but feeling in terms of feeling what they are feeling as if you were them. Quite an intense type of healing, but that might be interesting for you. So if you would like to see that, I will see you in the next video. Please do like and subscribe if you would like to support this channel, and I will see you in the next video.